Right. These damn eyelashes would get out of my eyes. Nine. 1 a.m. 1:39 a.m. on the East Coast. Hope everyone's doing well. Let's see. Is the Vatican? Yes, they are. Is the Vatican? This is from News Nation, and is Vatican sitting on UFO documentations? Yes, of course they are. You guys are pretty slow to the club here. They've been doing that forever about ETs and extraterrestrials, NHI, whatever you want to call them. They've been keeping it a secret. You know, it's in the art, Italian art, hundreds of years ago. You know, great art. It's in there. They've been covering everything up forever. A lot of corruption in the Vatican Church and Catholic Church and stuff. So, a lot of bad shit with the Catholic Church. Anyways, let's. I'm not talking just about UFOs either. But anyways, let's.
A while back, News Nation reported a claim from a Pentagon whistleblower that back during World War II, Pope Pius XII tipped off the U.S. government about the recovery of a partially intact UFO that Benito Mussolini's Italian government had discovered. So will the new Pope open the vault and share the secrets below the Vatican? I'm joined now by the host of UFO Witness.
That Pope helped hide Nazis. Hitler did not die in World War II. He didn't. He went to Brasilia or Argentina, whatever, you know, because if you're native from there. But he got out. It wasn't him that died in that bunker. You know, the Russians admitted that wasn't his DNA and stuff like that. It was his bodyguard and everything. But the Catholic Church helped Nazis go to South America and stuff like that and hide them over there. So, anyways.
On Discovery Plus, Ben Hansen. Ben, it is so crazy to think that there is a nexus between
crazy. I
the
knew
Vatican
about this all along.
And UFOs, but
just
that's something that was actually discussed in testimony before Congress.
Yeah, it sounds like it's straight out of a Dan Brown novel, you know, Da Vinci Code stuff.
Yeah.
Is the Catholic Church involved in a cover-up, something they don't want their membership or the world to know? You know, David Grush comes out and he talks about this 1933 case where supposedly the U.S. military was tipped off, like you said. They come in, take this UFO, this object, take possession of it at the end of World War II. And allegedly, the Catholic Church has not only records of that, but perhaps going back to centuries, documentation of UFOs or perhaps alien visitation.
So here's what, you know, if P then Q, I'm thinking, why would they keep everything a secret? Because of
religion, you idiots! It's because of bullshit religions. Because all this stuff with ETs would debunk these stupid religions, whether it's Islam, Catholicism, Christianity, or Judaism, stuff like that. Okay, it's all tribalism. It's all based on different tribes that hate each other, have made up different religions, want to kill each other off. ETs UFOs, all right? There is gods, there is Jesus, Yeshua, stuff like that. Wasn't a Jew. I've been to the other side different times and stuff like that. You don't need the Bible, any Bible. You know, the Quran, the Torah. You don't need that to go to heaven. It's all bullshit with these religions. All of it is. You don't need religion to get to heaven. You don't. You just need to try to do good stuff like that. There have been people that have done some bad stuff, a lot of bad stuff, that have gotten into heaven. Heaven is a state of mind. The closest thing that people have on earth of heaven is in what's it called? The Gnostic scriptures, where Yeshua, his name is Jesus, Yeshua. That's Jesus, okay? Student Catholic Church really messed up the scriptures, along with the King James BS. Totally destroyed everything, but they kept out the Gnostic stuff. Where Jesus was talking, Yeshua was talking to his disciples. You know, they said, what's heaven like? What's this like? When he came back, and he said, heaven is a state of mind. And they go, what? It's like, no, it has to be this. It has to be white, clouds, pearly gates. It has to be like this. No. He said, no. What do you want heaven to be? And that's what it is. What do you want it to be? That's the thing. It's not always just one thing about golden gates, pearly gates, angels. It's not always that. It is for a large amount, but not for everybody. It's also a state of mind. Where do you want to go? You could go into space. I went into space. I could go into different parts of the world. You know, I could teleport, stuff like that with the blink of an eye. Do. And you can do that. You know, we could do that remote viewing. We have psychic abilities and stuff like that. But you're talking about the Catholic Church is a corrupt piece of shit church. It is. They are corrupt. They've kept a lot of stuff. They have a lot of dirty laundry. They've helped fuel wars and everything else. Expansionism. Just a whole lot of evil, this stuff. And, this is a reason. Religions have changed with proof of UFOs, ETs. Where they say, well, obviously, our God created that. It's all bullshit. It is. Now, some God deity did create ETs. But these religions, human religions, have nothing to do with it. Nothing. Do not get brainwashed. I've been brainwashed. I've been a slave to religion. I have been abused by religion. I've been used and abused, brainwashed by pieces of shit in churches and stuff. That I knew about UFOs. I've seen angels, I've seen demons, all this other stuff, and they say that's a product of demons, or ETs are, and they are complete pieces of shit. They are. Now a lot of religions, including Catholicism, say, well, we need to maintain ourselves in society. So, all this proof, the Catholic Church said, we need to reinvent ourselves, and they totally reinvented themselves. They changed everything from going by the doctrine, and totally changed everything where they tossed out all doctrine in the Bible and stuff like that. Me, I'm not religious. Mine's more like Buddhism, Taoism, stuff like that. but it made more sense. But the thing is that you see churches how to reinvent themselves, say, hey, you know, this stuff does exist now. We're not going to say it's demons and stuff like that. There's still some idiots out there that say all ETs are demonic or all ETs are good. That's not true. That's BS, and they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They don't. There's good and bad, just like there are good, bad humans out there. And that's the way that is. But that's the reason why the Vatican kept it a secret. I already knew about this decades ago and everything. I knew the Vatican was covering stuff up. You know, because it's in the art. It goes back hundreds of years ago, like 500 years ago. These guys are way behind some of us that already know this stuff. There's a lot of people like me that have known about this forever.
You know, their followers, their congregants, beyond Catholics. If people start to realize that it's not an Adam and Eve story and it's not just Earth and there's a lot more to it, there goes religion.
I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head, you know, that theory, because the idea is the same, you know, concept perhaps that you talk about. Perhaps was Jesus married? Did he have children?
Listen, this is a thing. And I don't, when I bought my OnlyFans, so I've been on there, I need to lose some weight. This camera, I got 3X now, and I got some flap I need to get rid of. I'm pregnant. No, I didn't transition, but I think some people would tell me to. But that's different. What? I'm going off rails? Alright. Well, anyways, thing is, the OnlyFans, okay, I talked to some ladies on there about the afterlife, my experiences, and everything. And I need to update this. I need to really update this here. Let me see. Think here. I do. Invalid settings. That means, let me see, Vatican. UFOs. Oh, I have too many. Let's see. I think I want to get this just right. Success. All right. 13 minutes in. All right. So, I mean, this is the thing, is that, and I cuss because it pisses me off about how religions have divided, and how they say our religion, our God is the way. It's not. There is a God in everything, but and there's different gods, stuff like deity, stuff like that. Love all people, male, female side of God, stuff like that, and ETs and everything like that. It's not all what people think. It doesn't have anything to do with, you know, a stupid Bible. In different Bibles, you know, the Quran, the Torah, and stuff. There are some good scriptures. That there are in each and every book, but there's a lot of hate. There's a lot of murder. There's also some incest with one. So I mean, there's stuff that I don't like, and so many people are hypocrites when it comes to the Bible and acting accordingly and say they believe in God. And me, I say, if you're to be religious, act the act, do the part, walk the walk. And most people talk the talk, and they're cussing their heads off and everything, especially in, streaming and stuff like that. And you do that, and you have sex with multiple partners or whatever. Stop acting like you believe in this religion, no matter which religion it is. Be yourself. And I chose my path because I don't want to be a hypocrite. If people are going to hate me, and this has to do with religion, all this other stuff. If people are to hate me or like me, I'm not going to pretend about who I am. I'm not going to pretend, and say I'm a Christian, I'm a Jew, I'm a Muslim, I'm this or that. I'm just me, and that's it. But
canonical, doctrine of many religions is very kind of set in stone. And so to go back and kind of rewrite history and to say, okay, well, perhaps not only we're not the only ones in the universe, but what if they don't look like us, right? You have, scriptural reference to making God in man's image. So what if they don't really look like us? Would that mean that people lose their faith? Would that mean that they're going?
Oh, this is the thing. We do look like this. Our bodies, and the ladies I've talked to with OnlyFans about this, so that I did talk to and other people, is that we can look however we want to in the afterlife. We don't look like this. We don't have to. She's beautiful. He's good looking and stuff like that. They're retain that look. Also, you're going to have a look that's familiar to the other people on the other side. When you're in the afterlife, there's sometimes you don't know the person that's talking to you when you're dead. They look different, stuff like that. So they have to change their appearance and go, oh, you're that, you're my aunt, you're my uncle, you're my distant cousin, or something. And ETs, okay, the thing is that with human religions, they don't acknowledge the fact that there are ETs except for wheels in the sky. And so not to trust them and this and that. Like I said, there's good and bad ETs, NHIs, stuff like spirits, and everything else. There's good and bad all the time. If you go out, let's see, from in the Midwest, Southwest, what's it called? Let me see. There are dark areas in the Midwest. I forgot what they're called. There's a series been on it. Where there are tribal people that change into wolves. They change the way that they look and everything, and it has to do with violence and history and all that other stuff. There are a lot more different terrestrial intelligences just on this earth than people think. But as for Jesus having kids, I think that is very possible. There's the sign in these scriptures. Not in scriptures, but in the art. Look this up, and there's different art and stuff like that has this sign where they believe where Jesus had children, stuff like that, and they're hiding. I think it's very possible. Yeshua actually, and it's like if you look, one thing that is false with these stupid baby religions, which Catholicism, Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism, stuff like that. And I don't know too much about the Judaism that goes to part of family that was with me. That was 1,000 years ago. you can go to the other side and you can come back. You can die, you can come back. And I've talked to idiots on the internet that said, you can't die and come back. That's impossible. Only God can do this. Like, you dumbass. It's like, it's done all the time. It happens all the time. And I'm not going to have your stupid little book tell me that means nothing to me. Tell me what, our experiences are not real when they were. And stuff like that. So, I mean, if you look at Jesus Yeshua, okay, that you could say that he was an ascended. He was not Jewish. He's not a Jew. He saw the corruption with Judaism, Romans, and all these other sects, different religious beliefs and stuff like that. He was pretty much a lone person, and a lot of Jews saw him as a threat because he was above religion. That's actually what it was. I'm above religion. I don't need religion. Nobody does. I mean, you're just supposed to try and do good things as much as possible. And how religion actually divides a lot. But
going to kind of panic and give up on religion? And what about the authority of religion and membership? So all those questions is kind of what the theory is as to why perhaps they believe that either people are not ready for this or that they should indefinitely keep it covered up.
Well, that's it, the authority. How many wars the Catholic Church and other churches, whether, you have Judaism, Catholicism, and you have Islam. The main three that have caused so many wars and death and destruction. And all that authority is just God. People questions like, why the fuck are we fighting for when all this stuff is fake? Which most of it is fake. It's just old tribalism, tribes that hate each other, and said, no, ours is the only way, our tribe is better, our tribe has the only God, follow our God, kill the others, kill them, all this other stuff. That's what, it's about authority and power, and money, the Catholic Church and all that money. Billions, hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars, etc. That Vatican City is its own nation. If stuff got out, they lose all authority to have their own country, their own, state there. So,
or you have to rewrite a few books to incorporate the universe instead of just Earth, But I am curious about the official position that the Catholic Church takes on extraterrestrial possibilities.
Well, it kind of depends on who you talk to, right? So the keeper of the records or the secretary to the prefect of the archives has come out and said that they absolutely do not, they don't know where Grush got this idea. They said they don't have any documentation of extraterrestrial life, and they're dissuading researchers from asking anymore. So there's kind of like a process, sort of like filing a Freedom of Information Act.
So I don't know why they didn't follow up News Nation. By the way, legal News Nation, I believe it says News Nation and stuff like that. This is fair use, this is news. Also, I put my own experiences on UFOs, paranormal, with other things as well. So legal, putting this out, get them to look and stuff like that. But the Catholic Church has said before that they've had, stuff pertain to UFOs. They've said that. I don't know why.
You can petition the Vatican, see what they say. Will you let us into your archives? And they're saying, stop looking for it. We don't have any of that here. Now, I personally do know of people who have had access to archives And I do know, according to them, that the Catholic Church has kept records of things such as demonic possession for centuries, very detailed records. But as to the UFO subject, that's more of a mystery. Like you had mentioned in the beginning, 50 miles of shelving, they probably don't even know what they have in there. And I highly doubt it's digitized.
That's my assumption. Yeah, I highly doubt it. Yeah, looking at the books, they're almost falling apart. I only have like 30 seconds left, but is there any hope that the new pontiff might be a little more transparent, might open up the archives and let people take a look-see?
Well, I would just say that
only if more people put out more stuff about UFOs, more videos of UFOs, stuff like that, only then will that happen. And there's drones and stuff like that have, there are UFOs that have morphed into drones and planes. So ETs could do that. Our stuff could do that as well. So.
If you look at what happened under Pope Francis, they did revise the guidelines as to what is considered a miracle, how to investigate or accept something as supernatural. And so the new Pope probably will follow those same guidelines. It makes you kind of wonder, why now, right? Is there something about now that they think might be coming down the road as to why they have to stay ahead of it and kind of have a stand?
They did say stuff a couple of years ago or something like that, where they've had reports of UFOs and pictures and stuff like that. So I don't know why News Nation is behind on that, but anyways, I want to get to, here's Plato's cave, but I want to get to Immaculate Constellation. Plus, there's just not enough.
And we will hear testimony today concerning recent revelations about a purportedly secret UAP program whose existence and findings may have been improperly withheld from Congress. This is going to be the original document about Immaculate Constellation.
Those of us who've been following this very closely have been hearing whispers of the words Immaculate Constellation for a few months now.
The Immaculate Constellation, it's a UAP reconnaissance program. I can affirm this 100%.
What is in here is wild. I mean, they're saying, I'm paraphrasing, but reports of F-22s getting like boxed in by flying orbs that they couldn't shake. There were satellite images or satellite image of...
This is Jeremy Corbell. He's a big-time UFO investigator. And stuff like that. I wish I was doing this 20 plus years ago. Or this. I was told to shut up. I'd have at least that many subs and everything, but give a shout out, give him a like, stuff like that. Transformative purpose, fair use. I'm also putting in for legal here. Have to do this BS with YouTube. Everything. Also my own experiences with UFOs and paranormal.
Football field-sized flying saucer hiding in clouds.
I have personally walked people into members' offices for private meetings so they could see eye to eye and they could meet.
You are the author of what the world knows as the Immaculate Constellation Report.
It has been allowed to corrupt and infest every aspect of our society to serve the interests and whims of a very elite, select few.
Yeah, that's what we've been saying, a lot of us been saying.
The following is an interview with the author of the Immaculate Constellation Report that was submitted into congressional record.
Is it ironic you have to put your face out with us to protect yourself at this point? That's what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
This is absolutely what I did not want to do.
You've worked in secret programs. You've got clearances. You've made oaths that you would keep secrets. Let's talk about secrecy and the UAP topic. Shouldn't it be secret to some degree? I mean, we have, there's a race for the technology to try to understand it. We have adversary nations who'd love to get it ahead of us. Why not keep this stuff secret?
Well, if it was just technology that we are worried about protecting and maintaining a military advantage, there's strong arguments to be made and have successfully been made for decades in this country that the American leadership and American people seem to be finding acceptable to be left in the dark about where science, technology, and their military is taking them. This isn't just technology. This isn't something somebody came up with in a lab and it's sensitive because once the cat's out of the bag, anybody can do it. Fundamentally, this comes from and is secondary to what we've been told is the biggest question, which is humanity alone? The answer is no. And the secrecy that has been defended is at the cost of, in my mind, human dignity, freedom, and progress. And it is no longer permissible or acceptable in my mind to continue this course, to deprive another generation of not just Americans, but humanity of their birthright to know who they are, where they came from, and what's with us.
Can you give us a general description of the size of the secrecy apparatus? We're going to drill down into this, of course, about IMCON, and one particular facet of the secrecy that you came across and other parts of it. But how big of a secrecy apparatus is it? How many stovepipes are there? How many people are involved in different ways of keeping this secret, confusing the public, lying to Congress, lying to the world?
Simply put, it's a parallel reality. The secrecy apparatus is all pervasive. It is not just in the intelligence community governing their world. It's not just in the military protecting their operations. It's not protecting our diplomats and leaders as they conduct their work, sometimes in very dangerous places. It has been allowed to corrupt and infest every aspect of our society to serve the interests and whims of a very elite, select few.
And it's been used to intimidate, threaten, destroy the lives of people like yourselves who have been doing their job, keeping their oaths, trying to protect their country, being true to humanity, and have paid praises for it.
Absolutely.
This has been a difficult process for you, for me and you, kind of going through this. I've seen what you've gone through personally with this. You're taking a personal hit, like a painful risk, just talking to us, just doing this finally after all this time. I think I understand why. You're explaining something philosophical, what you believe about the secrecy, just personally. Like, what is the step for you to do this? Like, why? I need to understand why. Why are you telling this to everybody
now?
There's no short answer. It's something, I have many, not even competing, but parallel motivations. But why now? Look out at the world. Look inside our country. We are not headed to a good future.
You're concerned.
I am.
Explain the concern.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, we have too much corruption. Like I said, our government, the way it is now, needs to be totally destroyed and redone. We have criminals, mobsters, on both sides of the aisle, around the world. Psychopaths that want to control what we could do, our minds, bodies, spirits, what we can't do, psychic abilities, remote viewing, traveling the stars. We could do that already. We could go different galaxies, different dimensional type stuff. We are being kept in the caves. We are the government on purpose. Our stupid POS government as well, on purpose, is keeping us like Neanderthals, cavemen and women, in the Stone Age, when we could go to the stars right now. We have special exotic technologies, not just technology, but spirit stuff. How we communicate, we can use, free energy, and they want to make money off of energy that this is, and some of it is bad as well. And we need to have a clean solution with this energy as well. But it's all about control, manipulation, and making money off of this stuff, and how they want it controlled like a dictatorship and everything.
Ultimately, my biggest fear is what humanity will do to itself out of fear and greed, and what we have done.
Right.
And we have built a prison around ourselves. It's invisible,
Right.
but it's not complete, and there is still time to
We're
maybe
living in caves.
alter our trajectory, have a different future. May not be the best one that we had hoped for, but it's going to be damn sight better than what they have planned for us.
You know there's no going back after you tell us this on camera. We had this conversation. This is it. This is the line in the sand. You're about to cross over here.
Absolutely. I am, on a personal level, giving up the future that I made for myself and was going to try to make for a family.
Now,
I'm proud of what I accomplished in my time in government, and it's painful to leave the good people there and to know that there really isn't room for people to act according to their conscience and our constitutional ideals on the inside.
Is it your belief, based on materials, things that you've been exposed to, that you've seen, people you've talked to, communicated with over a period of a couple of years, is it your belief that the technology, the race for the technology, the understanding of the big secret, is entirely in the hands of people outside the government and not for the benefit of the public or to protect American national security? It's in some other realm, in some other hands.
I think it's a mix. I think our military, has a long historic involvement in this. So does our intelligence community and our scientific academic community.
Right.
We have, as a country, allowed ourselves to be penetrated, co-opted, and corrupted by an internationalist force that serves their interests and views nations, peoples as tools and means to an end.
Like a business cabal, international corporations that have no loyalty to any nation, let alone this one.
That's a large part of it. I think
like cartels.
we have to go above that too, to start to explain the degree of the level of deception.
I don't think people understand how some stuff is like cartels are also at war for this. It's beyond technology, not all technology, spirit stuff as well. Magic, this magic stuff. They're willing to kill each other for this stuff as well as for this information and control it as well. So people don't understand that part yet. They don't, but hopefully some will.
And the level of commitment they've had to maintaining that deception, it's above just monetary gain and power. They're afraid.
George and I have talked about whistleblowers that come to us and we protect them. We don't often report on when people come to us. We're doing this now.
Yeah,
what are the repercussions? People talk about whistleblowers being afraid. And there's one set of being afraid, which is when you're squeezed by outside entities, that are fucking with you, which has happened to you, and we'll talk about that. But what are the legal implications of what you're about to talk to us today? Tell me the gravity right now. What are you facing? I want our audience to understand what it means for you to talk to us right now. What could happen to you?
My hope is that the stakes are not paid out, but they are life imprisonment and the possibility of execution.
Yeah.
And you've
Yeah, people have complained about Luis Elizondo and say that he's not, giving up as much information as Grush and these other people. And the thing is, for each whistleblower, what you cannot say is a lot different. It's 25 plus years to life. Mandatory imprisonment. It's automatic 25 years. It's not reduced. That's just 25. You say something else, that's another 25 to life. I mean, it's already 25 to life regardless. But not like that, life in federal prison and stuff like that is, I hear it's worse. In those over there, life is worse, I heard. That big one versus, I don't know, prison's just bad, even jail's bad enough. But prison, shit that happens in those, nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. I mean, that's in. They have killed people. They do kill people to keep them silent. The government does. Our government does, and others as well. Just sickos in our government, and you have conservatives and Democrats. They're both at fault in continuing this, and have lied about drones and other stuff, and they should be swimming with the fishies.
tried all the right ways. I've helped you on some of it. We've tried. You have tried all the right ways to do this, but you have something much bigger that is pushing on you, that you have to take this next step forward. And so now, I just want people to understand where you're coming from. When we say we protect whistleblowers, when people come to us, not everybody goes on camera, but also just you work currently in Department of State, but maybe he should tell us his history.
Yeah, let's do chronological. So you got a degree in what?
So I got a degree in international affairs, came out to DC, started working in a small think tank. From there, I applied to and was accepted to a intelligence agency. Ended up taking a job at the Pentagon, basically waiting for the right opportunity for that world to pop up. Which when it did, I was having too much fun, so I said no.
You're in the Pentagon. Weapons of mass destruction is a general umbrella under which you're working. You got a security clearance at that point?
Yeah, I had been cleared by DIA for a top secret SCI clearance.
You get to see, I guess, firsthand all this different information that comes in from all over these places, different platforms, right? Mm-hmm. You're exposed to that, and you get an idea of just how big that apparatus is.
Yes, absolutely. UFOs and aliens aside, it's a different world without anything exotic in it when you are exposed to that information and learning over time, not just from the intelligence, but the experiences of the people around you, because not everything that's true and has happened in the world is written down on paper.
I mean, you're given a lot of roles and responsibilities that gives you access to very sensitive information. When you said SCI, that's Secret Compartmentalized Information is the acronym?
Sensitive compartmentalized information.
Yeah, it's probably right.
Yeah.
So you know that.
That's how they keep this stuff. See, these acronyms, like with UFOs, they changed UFOs to. How I get pissed off about that is because, of course, that the Pentagon. The intelligence likes to change the lettering, the acronyms of UFOs, and they changed the UAPs. They changed it, to other letters as well, other acronyms. It's total BS. They had, first it was saucers, then it was UFOs, etc., etc. So I mean. They're always trying, and the joke is on people that use UAPs. I think they're a joke, but anyways.
I mean, but I'm just saying, you are a sane human being you're given a lot of these responsibilities. I just think it's important for people to understand. So you have access to very critical information through the United States government that's separate from the UFOs and the alien, topic that we're going to talk about.
For the world.
For the world.
For the U.S. and the world.
Yes.
And that weighs heavy on you, I'm sure. Like you're really looking to defend the United States of America where you live, and you are looking at information that is just highly sensitive. I think it's important for people to know. Good people like you doing great jobs in there. You had access and responsibilities. People trust you. That's you can't get there without that.
It is, it's a very burdensome role. I feel deeply for the people who have been there for many years. There's a lot of hidden suffering that comes from it, but it is I thought it was a noble and good mission. I still do.
I could tell this has hurt him a lot by I could see the I can't think of the right words right now because it's very slow in the head, dumb in the head right now. But I could tell by looking at it, this has hurt him a lot over time, where he was really pro-government and believed in the military and government stuff like that. Then, like me and other people, you find how corrupt it is and infested with criminals and stuff like that. So that put other criminals to shame, by the way.
And risks. I imagine there's all kinds of information that comes across your desk and that desk of other people you're working with at that point about weapons of mass destruction, the movement of nuclear weapons, or suddenly material that disappears and where did it go? Black market, biological weapons research, things that are going on around the world that we need to keep an eye on, right?
Yeah.
And things that never make the news.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. There is, like I said, there is there's many worlds, there's many shells to our reality that the
there are
public...
different compartments when it comes to bioweapons, nuclear arms, and stuff like that. They have different branches and stuff like that, branches and everything that stuff falls under. And you're not going to hear any of the stuff that, could go missing usually. You're not. Yeah, you're just not. They have special teams, operatives assigned for those compartments, for those different branches. Whether I haven't heard exactly everything about him, but whether it be him or other people, they have, of course, that's why there's top secret. For that ultra, magic, majestic, whatever, that they're assigned to. And it depends what part of intelligence, depends what, if you're in, say, what's it called, defense contractors, etc., then that goes into a different area, perhaps department, etc. So, got different branches, departments, and there's different categories that branches off, down, etc.
Including our professional media class, our professional academic class, our political class has absolutely no idea exists. And if they do have an idea, they have a very distorted one, sometimes intentionally so.
I mean, you're not like some secret agent. You're not like some CIA secret agent. So people understand when you're working at the Pentagon is where we're at in the thing. I mean, we have a lot of great people that are bright-minded, working on these problems for the United States, keeping the United States safe, looking at geopolitical aspects of nuclear weaponry, that kind of thing. But just to be clear, I mean, you're not like some secret agent with more access than anybody else or anything like that.
No, I never wanted to be a field officer. I danced with the idea in my dreams maybe and read the books, but I knew that wasn't for me, especially the task and the cost of befriending and manipulating and ultimately using people. I don't think I would have been very good at that.
Like human intelligence.
Correct.
And yeah, false friendship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Does that stuff come across your desk? Human intelligence, signals intelligence regarding weapons of mass
All
destruction?
sources. All sources intelligent. All sources of intelligence. And then if there are questions, you can go ask them and usually get the answers.
And the kinds of things that you see that come across your desk, does it give you pause? How am I going to sleep tonight knowing that this XYZ is going on somewhere? At times when they think, oh, crap, how did this happen?
Everyone has like their different standard of what's going to, shake them like that. And I've definitely had a few of those.
You're not gonna. You usually have psychological profilers, stuff like that. And you have the FBI. That again, I have not read into this guy or anything. He just came out, I guess. It looks like, was this actually yesterday, 1 day ago? But stuff has been leaking out about this for over 6 months, 9 months or a year about this. So, lost my train of thought. But how
Those, I won't share them, but
Yeah, but I mean, just with security, for national security kind of stuff.
right, stuff unrelated to exotic things that are very.
Yeah, just world out there.
Okay, you're there for a while. You do that for how many years?
I was in there a little over 4 years, but I was in the Pentagon a little over.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, like I said, what they usually do is that you have to have a certain psychological profile of what you cannot handle. With my father and stuff like that, he was already involved with the nuclear weapons and stuff like that, and codes and stuff like that. And he's running during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and they saw how he could handle stuff like that. I don't think he went through anything like that, but of course, I know he hasn't. Not that type, I don't know exactly, but there's stuff that they go through all your paperwork and how you handle each assignment. They go over your superiors that you've had, to go through all your work, and they question your former superiors. Sometimes even they question even people that you know. Sometimes, people that you've worked with. Sometimes they go through them and see what kind of person you are. They'll go through phone records. See if you have an OnlyFans. They're gonna go through that. They're going to go through everything and see what, because when you have all these secrets, they want to know if there's going to be something that's going to keep you off your focus and everything.
For 5, because I moved out of there briefly into
But these guys, you have to have compartmentalization where you're able to compartmentalize stuff and be able to sleep. You have to be able to handle, you have to have that mental toughness.
the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence. And a smaller office in there.
We've heard of that office.
We have heard of that office.
Was it a different sort of work or the same thing, just for a different boss?
Same field, related to exotic things that are very.
Yeah, just world out there.
Okay, you're there for a while. You do that for how many years?
I was in there a little over 4 years, but I was in the Pentagon a little over 5, because I moved out of there briefly into. I won't share them, but.
Yeah, but I mean, just with security, for national security kind of stuff.
Right, stuff unrelated to exotic things that are very.
Yeah, just world out there.
Okay, you're there for a while. You do that for how many years?
I was in there a little over 4 years, but I was in the Pentagon a little over 5, because I moved out of there briefly into the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence, and a smaller office in there.
We've heard of that office.
We have heard of that office.
Was it a different sort of work or the same thing, just for a different boss?
Same field, different work, different boss, different community.
So you're working for a contractor, but you're working at the Pentagon on Pentagon business, and that's sort of a model that is used for all kinds of programs, right?
Yeah, that's the industry in DC.
Is that to have a buffer of some sort? Why is that?
Well, you have government management, and they're supposed to be the ones that, they sign the checks, make the final decisions, but most of the staff is contractors, military people on detail, people on fellowships from, either think tanks or universities.
So you get to be familiar with stovepipes and how, you could be working on this and the guy may be in the office next to you or the desk next to you is working on something else and you don't know what they're working on.
Yeah, I mean, it can be that way. My experience was more that we had a team. It was all more or less on the same information level, but then there'd be other teams that, they have their own. So it's not quite as isolated. I've heard from others it can be just, it's you and no one else around you knows what you're doing.
You got a company, it's a contractor that's working there in the Pentagon. How much oversight is there from the actual Pentagon, the military, of a contractor's work?
Well, I mean, the day-to-day is overseen by the government. So in that sense, it's there.
And is that generally true for all the contractor programs that we'll be getting into later? That somebody in the military or IC is looking at what that contractor does?
No, I couldn't say.
Right?
Yeah, I could not.
Again, I have to say, this is from Jeremy Corbell. I have to give him props, not just for legal reasons, but so many guys go to him, potential whistleblowers, stuff like that. Usually I'll give him a like and stuff like that. And everything, again, I do this for fair use as well, because my other experiences, stuff like that, news, reporting. But this
we got the 1 degree, and then you went on to try to get a master's.
Yeah, I went to George Washington University, Masters of Security Policy Study. Got to the point where I had a thesis to submit, and then I started working at the Pentagon. Took a break and kind of got caught up in the churn, as the term is.
Right. I'm curious about just what it's like to work at the Pentagon. I mean, to think you're driving to work, there it is, the heart and soul of the national security of our country. You're doing important work, weapons of mass destruction, in the biggest office building in the world. I would think there'd be a lot of satisfaction in that. But I wonder what day-to-day is like. Are you under surveillance? Do you have to do polygraphs? Can you tell your wife what you're doing? Do you socialize with colleagues, or do you have to worry about what you say to whom and where?
Yeah, so I mean, starting with the first part, I think for me at least, it was like I finally made it, right? I'm working at the Pentagon. It's cheesy, but I felt pride pretty much every single day that I rolled in there.
That's not cheesy.
It was. I was very fortunate to join an office that cared a lot about their people, not just their performance at work, but their goals, their desires, and how they were getting on with life in general. Fewer places are like that, but I look back on that time with a lot of happiness.
How do things begin to sour? Is it because of this topic that we're going to discuss?
Yes.
Yep.
Let's take it from there. When does that start? What's your first exposure?
I mean, were you like a UFO guy, like before all that? I mean, like there's something that happened, and there was an instigator, right? But it's like, were you like a UFO guy all your years back, or?
To some degree, I've always been interested in aliens and UFOs, secret histories, the things that are hidden from us. It's been a lifelong kind of passion. It's not always aliens, While I was always interested in these things, they were only a realm of possible. And when I looked at UFOs in a serious way, as I was more in my college years, I got just not exposure, but started learning about the sort of ecosystem of secrecy in the military-industrial complex, what SAPs are, what CAPs are, and you start to realize, there's a good chance a lot of what these UFO things are some really cool stuff that we have, whether it's in the air, under the water, or right in front of you.
You're not getting a job at the Pentagon until you want to get access to the UFO scene.
No. When I joined, I thought, I'd pretty much locked down that there might be life out there, but most of what we're seeing in the skies at that time I thought was either ours or ally or adversary.
You don't go over the deep end. You're not going to MUFON conferences. You're not wearing a beanie and alien stuff on your head.
No. In fact, I would be looked at like I had a third eye just by suggesting they were stealth satellites.
I mean, in fact, like, you've never been to like a UFO conference or anything like that, have you?
No.
Right, that's not your style.
No.
You're a very analytically minded person. It's something I've learned. I bet you're fucking really good at your job, because just the way our communications, the way you deep dive into research, that's a talent to be able to pull big source information, all source information, and kind of come to conclusions. That is one of your skill sets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you ever work 9 to 5? Because you're kind of a workaholic, right? And you go over the top.
Yeah. I really liked the Pentagon. I learned an immense amount there, and I would stay there till the wee hours of the morning, learning.
Which is also how you found out information about the topic we're going to discuss.
I delved too deeply.
Yeah.
And you came across this sort of accident?
100%
Pandora's
accidentally.
box.
Sorry.
You hit.
The Immaculate Constellation piece of this, 100% accidentally. Before I was exposed to that, I had seen UAP on military videos in the Pentagon.
Usually, if you do something like that, so-called accidentally, you get kicked out of your job, you get threatened, and all sort of stuff. But because you can't just he already had the clearance from what you said. It sounds like
Pentagon. But nothing that suggested, origin, intent, or in the level of detail that, I came to find later.
So explain that to the average, like, how do you just come across UFO videos in the Pentagon? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Tell somebody who has no idea how that happens.
So you have a clearance,
right.
And there's a secret internet. And on that secret internet, there's just a generic access like you and I. It's all very secret, sensitive stuff, but more or less everyone can look at what's on there. Then, you have on this secret internet some compartmentation, light compartmentation, as it were. And then there's entirely different systems for truly sensitive stuff. But the point is that there is essentially, a shared community of knowledge, and it goes back, just like our own internet. It goes back over decades.
If you have a top secret clearance, you go on JWIX, you can pretty much go and see whatever is on there, except for special compartmentalized stuff.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much. Or things that, are just people protect their business processes.
So who would be putting UFO type or UAP videos on there? How does that happen? How do they end up there?
Service members and intelligence officers who, for one reason or another, decided to put that footage there.
Right.
What's the first UFO video you see? What'd you think of it? Or military film footage of a UFO. What did you, what was that like?
Well, technically, the first true military footage that I saw was that Tic Tac video and the Go Fast video, and I think there was one other else, the Gimbal video that all came out in 2017. Granted, I didn't see those on military systems, but just being precise here.
Yeah.
And so things that I saw after that kind of looked like all that, but just much more duration. The videos, it's the internet, whether it's secret or not. There's compression, there's upload and file sizes. So some things are crystal clear, but it's only 15 seconds. Some things you can see 45 minutes of something moving around, but it's kind of blurry because that's a lot of data.
So you've seen crystal clear at times videos of what appear to be, would you say, non-human intelligence made craft? I mean, what you see evidence that the rest of the world doesn't get to see. Mm-hmm. That starts happening.
Yeah. Nothing in those videos necessarily proves it's extraterrestrial or non-human. It certainly is anomalous, exotic, and unexplainable.
And advanced.
Yes.
Beyond our capabilities that you know of?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it might have...
I mean, this day beyond our capabilities, because we have that magic. Yeah, we have that I hate using the word technology, but it's the way humans understand it. That's the best word that they can understand. This spirit, stuff like that, magic, tech and stuff like that. We're able to do just about the same thing, pretty much the same thing. So, to say that beyond our tech, or stuff like that is, we have that. We own that stuff as well. So
might have been within our capabilities to replicate even in an inferior manner, but quite a lot of it is, it's either something else or we live in a world where we have been left behind.
2017, these stories come out, New York Times and other media. The videos become known. That sparks your curiosity and you start looking around for that kind of stuff, or it would just come across your desk and in front of your eyes naturally?
Yeah, so not looking for that stuff.
Did you have access to live feeds?
Yes.
So live feeds, real time, you could go into like a Reaper drone and see if there's something going on. Not that you're specifically looking for UFOs, but you had access even to live feeds.
Yeah, not anything special, no special access, but you know where those resources are. You can go look at them, and I did.
I want to go back to this. You said with these nuclear facilities, nuclear weapons, nuclear labs, nuclear power plants, that within a year or two, are you saying all of them get?
I hope he words this very carefully for his own security and law. As a lawyer part, I have to hope that he does not say something and say, I had intent to use this special access, clearance to look at drones, to just specifically look at UFOs. Because if he says that, he could be in a lot of trouble. He needs to, I hope he did not infer that. He needs to be very careful legally, what he says and how he says it. Crafted.
Visited, or there's some strange phenomena?
I can't say that they all do, but I would suspect that.
There you go back.
I want to go back to this. You said with these nuclear facilities, nuclear weapons, nuclear labs, nuclear power plants, that within a year or two.
Did you have access to live feeds?
Yes.
So live feeds, real time, you could go into like a Reaper drone and see if there's something going on. Not that you're specifically looking for UFOs, but you had access even to live feeds.
Yeah, not anything special, no special access, but you know where those resources are. You can go look at them, and I did.
I want to go back to this. You said with these nuclear facilities, nuclear weapons, nuclear labs, nuclear power plants, that within a year or two, are you saying all of them get visited, or there's some strange phenomena?
I can't say that they all do, but I would suspect that, anything that is...
There's this misconception, misinformation, where if you whistle blow that, you are clear of all liability, all legalities. You're not. You can be clear of just this one thing, and everything else will be used against you. There's a certain part of whistleblowing where, and they can still go after you, they can still kill you. They can still do that. You still have to be careful of other legalities of what you say, because like in a court of law, you are guilty until proven innocent. I found that out. Others as well. But you have to be very mindful, very careful.
Sufficiently nuclear will draw attention at some point, and will be they will be encountering this.
And what are they? What do you see? What kinds of things are you seeing?
So nothing too dramatic when it comes to like these facilities. A lot of times it's orbs of it's hard to always judge the size, but I'd be surprised if it's bigger than a Cessna. probably something somewhere in between. Whether it's white or silverish, or if you're looking through different sensor apparati, it'll look like whatever hot or cold is. But usually orbs around these facilities. Sometimes things that look a bit more irregular, but the vast majority being orbs.
I mean, the world's been exposed to some of this. There's been a clarification to the general public about what are you seeing when you're seeing infrared or FLIR. It takes some translation. There are people that focus on that, and like they can read that. But basically, you're looking at things that don't have flight control surfaces, that don't have traditional propulsion. They seem to tag along, which we've heard forever, with nuclear events, that kind of thing, nuclear structure. But you see a lot of these, start getting exposed to them. I mean, just to begin, doesn't that start to kind of feed that curiosity in you? You just all of a sudden, the average person, but you're now seeing stuff that you can't.
Yeah, you have to be a special kind of boring to not be interested after seeing those states. It's shocking, especially knowing the context of what you're looking at.
Right, which you get when you have those systems that can look at that.
100%.
What's the context? What like big picture? Like what's the context?
Yeah, and in this way, are you seeing images? Is there discussion? Is there text that comes along with this? Hey, we saw this thing. What the hell is it? It's not us.
Surprisingly little of that. I think the community kind of knows or knew. We don't talk about this. It's there. That changed some years ago, but it's since been, I think, shut down again in terms of community participation and solving the problem.
So people within the intelligence community know you don't talk about this out loud. You don't say the quiet part out loud. You post stuff, you kind of get, then you get an era of discussion when this starts coming forward, 2017 New York Times story. But then you're explaining that there's been a kind of clampdown on that dialogue and discussion. I've heard that from a lot of people on the inside. Yeah. You witnessed that too?
Yes, absolutely. Both firsthand and from, hearing from friends and connections.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard, corruption with the Trump administration, Republicans as well. There's some bad stuff with Biden administration, but it seems like it was just more open, it seems, and they shut things up even more when Trump got in. It's really terrible. It's gotten worse again. We need to force this stuff out, get it out, everything. Call out, whether it's Democrat, Republican, or, it's like the corruption is everywhere. There's intelligence or the House, Congress, and everything, or whatever government. It's just that all sides are doing it, and they need to be called out.
The screws were tightened, and certain agencies, you're not allowed to mention certain whistleblowers' names, or you'll be fired immediately.
So there's no announcement on the PA system. There's no leaflets left in the cafeteria. No memo put out that says don't talk about this stuff, but
Yeah. You pick up on that vibe real quick.
When you say there's certain whistleblowers' names you can't mention, this brings me back to a friend of ours when George was doing his news report on Bob Lazar, first time it was going to air, he just said, when he was up at Area 52, he just said, hey, you should pay attention to the news. His career was over. He got pulled into a room the next day. I would call him a friend of ours. I interviewed him about it. That was done. He just mentioned to watch George's news report. Again, we're not equating Bob Lazar to anything, but we were just saying that happened. So what do you mean if you mention certain whistleblowers? Who?
David Grush.
You can't mention David Grush in certain professional settings or you are fucked.
Yeah, if you're not fired, you are in for a very rough time, is my understanding.
Elizondo?
I didn't hear Elizondo as a no-go word.
Saying David Grush.
Well, Elizondo, Elizondo can't talk as much about stuff as, like I said, each whistleblower is different. Each one's different about what they can and cannot talk about. And to be honest, Elizondo is more of a friendly because he cannot talk about all that stuff, he has alluded to a lot of stuff, though. There's stuff that he has talked about. He's alluded that he's opened some can of worms from time to time, but Dave Rush, he opens up a lot bigger can of worms than Lou Elizondo did. That's why. And it's like Louis Elizondo has been out a lot longer than Dave Rush. Lou Elizondo, there's a time where you couldn't talk about him and stuff like that. It also has to do about the new and the old. What's old news, what's new news. Rush is more new news.
Rush testified in open Congress, so that makes sense. So, what have you seen it happen? Have you seen people mention his name? How do you become aware you can't even talk about him?
Yeah.
So that specific example, heard from a friend at that agency, that was essentially the word of mouth from management. Nothing written in paper, nothing in emails. Mm-hmm. But from what it sounds like, people got a conversation with their leadership and were told as much as we've just gone over. And his name was absolutely, in the first-hand experience, sort of radioactive in the chat rooms. It would either, all of a sudden, these people that never participate are there really slamming him and slamming the people talking about him.
On the classified internet.
Indeed.
Our space is one we've talked about a bunch, but these where people had open dialogue, it just got to clamp down. And his name was part of that. That's what you meant when you said certain people are radioactive. You can't mention their names.
Right.
Okay.
Clueless.
And good, yeah. We're nuclear.
Yeah.
He's radioactive.
Okay.
Different designation. Yeah.
So you're seeing these videos and some limited discussion. You can't really openly talk about it, but you're curious. You're kind of hooked on the topic.
Yeah, and to be clear,
To be honest, George Knapp is radioactive too, because there are so many whistleblowers that have talked to him and people that have talked to him. He started in the 1980s. He's an OG, real OG, with ufological universe and everything. He's a real OG, man. So I remember him way back, even before Bob Lazar and stuff like that.
2018, when this first exposure happened, and for about a few years after, it did at least feel more open. Looking back on it, this was probably a counterintelligence prerogative at the time. But it was allowed to exist. The discussion was allowed to exist, and it felt more like, people were excited to finally actually be able to talk about this and finally be able to try to compare notes, figure it out.
Well, it's when the UAP task force was created. They didn't call it that, but it was up and running, and they were trying to make entreaties out to the intelligence community and DOD. Hey, they wanted input from and partners.
Yeah, so I saw that emerge, and I saw it die.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say exposure, we're going to get into this, but you mean, technically it's called spillage. It's when you see something.
I gotta see how much time is left. This is only part one, but this is very exciting stuff. Again, shout out Jerry Corbell stuff. So it's awesome. This stuff I already knew about, a lot of stuff, but this is just, they haven't even gotten into it really. There's a lot more that has yet to be shown about this. They're just in about 25% in, I believe.
Then that is of a compartmentalized or nature that you are not specifically cleared to see, and you were exposed to something, and it was like, holy shit, what is this? And the first thoughts of that I'm interested in. So if we're at that point, okay, so let's talk about that. Look, the whole world knows about IMCON, Immaculate Constellation. We're saying that word out loud. At one time, that was very dangerous to say out loud, to write, to text. We should talk about that. But before, this is your gateway. This is the entrance point. What happened? How did it happen? What did you see? What did you think?
Yeah, so the first exposure, or the exposure to Immaculate Constellation, happened on a shared server that was shared by all the offices in OSD. What I was doing at the time was opening files that were clearly misfiled and either sorting them to our office's, part of that server, or putting them in their own box to be sorted by other responsible your jobs. I mean, this is more like volunteer duty, but yes.
So because you're a workaholic and you're curious and you read a lot, you come across a file that really is what leads us to being here today. It's the Schreiber file.
Yeah, so it was labeled 2018 Schreiber War Game. Might have been brief or something else, but that's it. There's nothing about that screams, it's a very interesting thing. In fact, usually a lot of war game briefs are pretty boring. Right. So there's nothing that stood out about it.
Accidental exposure for you.
100%.
You go into it, and what do you see?
He has a lot of access.
There's just a generic title slide. There's a banner without classification markings that just says Immaculate Constellation. And it has a placeholder slide that shows like the Schreiber Schreiber Air Base logo and some logos of the units involved. But at that time, I believe it would have still been like Air Force Space Command adjacent. Yeah. So still nothing particularly stunning. I think the name at the top probably just the name of the exercise. So the next slide, though, is where it gets interesting. Because the face of Lou Elizondo is on that next slide, and I was not who I was expecting to see, and it was accompanied by text to summarize. Please have some grace with me. It's been 7 years, but it was saying that Immaculate Constellation is an unacknowledged special access program established after the exposure of ATIP in 2017 by former USDI officer Lou Elizondo. And that's the gist of that first slide. And so I'm looking at that, and nothing particularly convincing that that's alien related or what the SAP is or what it's doing. So I don't know what to make of this. So I read the whole thing.
To me, that there's something to look.
It got very interesting very quick.
So it's designated a SAP. This is a SAP. It's sitting on a server. Maybe it shouldn't be on.
That's because I already know.
Right. So I think that's important. And also, it seems like it's just a response to the public spillage or exposure that we saw come forward with people like, and specifically Lou Elizondo. This was like an internal classified response to the fact, oh shit, some of this is out now.
Yeah, that's exactly the tone of those words, of that slide. That's the implied order of events that led to being established.
So it's like 2018, maybe.
Yeah, the file was at least last accessed in 2018. I can't remember if it did say, the file creation date, or if I looked it up, but I know it was last accessed.
And you see who's accessed it prior to you?
I can.
And what did you see?
So everyone says that I'm wrong and it's impossible, but the name I recalled at the time thinking, oh, that's odd, was...
Name redacted.
And did you know who that was?
Vaguely. At that time,
that's scary.
People are considered superstars in leadership circles, so you just hear names like that, and that's what her name was.
Why would that be impossible? Why are people now, in retrospect, why are people telling you that would be impossible?
Oh, she wasn't at the Pentagon then.
Mm-hmm.
Where was she? She was at the Pentagon, to my knowledge, but they're saying she wasn't there.
Right.
Interesting.
So, all right, so Schreiber War Games, you keep reading. There's a big slide with Lou Elizondo's face on it. What comes next? I mean, you get a sense that I shouldn't be able to read this here.
No, not yet, actually. No. To be clear, at that point in time, I had no formal training in what SAPs were. There was no SAP marking on this, just a name, Immaculate Constellation. All
right, for me, that was setting up flags. Immaculate Constellation means stars. Usually ET stuff like that. Constellation has to do with space, and I mean, maybe he did where with me immediately that would hit me and say, hey, I gotta look, gotta dig, because I know where that's going right away. But.
Opening slide, just we would call it improperly labeled, improperly classified.
What was it? What did it show?
So the next slide, the third slide about, just jumps straight into the mission of the SAP and showing what apparently the results of that mission are, and it's a collection incident in the Pacific Ocean. The subject of collection is several Russian naval intelligence vessels in the middle of the ocean at night, and above those vessels is a large black triangle floating in the air. This is a still image, but it is color.
Okay, so that's the first kind of event, but what was the mission? What was the mission? That's what people want to know, is what was the mission of Immaculate Constellation as described in the product?
So in the product itself, you had to piece together the mission by reading the whole thing and kind of putting together the parts. It never spelled out fully, like as it should, the mission of the SAP. And I assume that's because this is a type of brief where there will be inserts to the deck, which would be inserted by the SAP control officer during the briefing that would provide another level of detail. But based on the information included in there and its description, the mission becomes apparent, and that is a bare minimum. It's the intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance mission of a global nature for UAPs and RVs, ARVs. The hesitation there is some time has passed. One of those acronyms is in there, either RV or ARV, and that is how the triangle in this case was labeled.
Been 7 years, so as you're reading through this and that you're remembering RV or ARV just for our audience. So RV is reverse
reproduction
vehicle,
yeah.
And the ARV would mean alien
anomalous
reproduction.
We see
there are way too many acronyms, so I get these. Oh, okay. Anyways, I get this.
People in the literature say alien reproduction vehicle. It could just be anomalous,
advanced,
or advanced. It could be anything that can go after A.
So you don't know what that is. But
I don't.
This is a pretty interesting image here.
It is. And then the text that accompanies it describes the incident.
And what can you tell us?
Yeah, the summary of that is just how it unfolded. I should actually back up and say the image itself was unique. This isn't by a plane or a satellite. It looks to be a image pretty close to the waterline. So something that to me read is we have a clandestine submersible asset close by this fleet, and it's taking pictures, trying to stay unnoticed. And so yes, in the description, it basically lays out what occurred that night, which was that our collection assets were there in area monitoring Russian naval vessels. Not sure what they're doing there, but they've been hanging out in the middle of the ocean in this place apparently for a few days. Keep an eye on them. And this night, while they are observing the Russian vessels, a large black triangle materializes or decloaks or something. The point is it did not move. It appeared directly above these ships, probably no more than 200 meters, pretty close. And interestingly, as noted in the report itself, there was no visible reaction from these vessels from what would almost certainly be considered a hostile approach.
What do you take away from that? They didn't notice it, or they're not upset about it, or they don't know what to do with it, or what?
So the implication also in the text describing it was, the analysis in the text was that the Russian Navy had foreknowledge that this vehicle would appear in that area of the ocean, and they were there specifically to either collect on it themselves or to interact with it in some way.
Any indication that it might be theirs, that they knew it's going to be there because they control it?
It could be.
Not in that document, and I haven't seen anything to make me think that they controlled that particular craft, but didn't see anything to the contrary either.
I guess it could be that they've seen it before, that there's nothing they can do about it, so don't get excited about it.
Might be, although it is interesting, if it's something that's part of their environment, as it were, why are they making an effort to be in this space at this time to collect on something they already know about?
Is it like in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, it's off the coast of Kamchatka, as I recall. In the Pacific Ocean.
That's what struck me. I mean, my mind goes to the idea that they were kind of camped out, deep kind of ocean in this one specific area durationally. It kind of implies to me, if I'm thinking outside the box here, there's some form of comms or communication.
That doesn't look. Shark. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I saw around here by mind's eye. That's why. Yeah, that's why I saw it here. Around in here. Yeah. This is in my mind's eye what I saw. Let's see. Pacific Ocean. Right. So that's where, yeah, that's where my mind's eye went to. That's where it is. Beautiful. Gorgeous. Yeah, and it got lots of military assets around right in here, through here. So that's where it is.
And with whoever the operators are of this craft, am I going too far with that idea? Or?
I think it's a reasonable one to have, but it's not one that I can validate.
Yeah, let's be clear. You were exposed to something. We're just touching the basics here. We're theorizing. We're talking about a bunch of stuff we don't know, but the descriptions that you were exposed to kind of give you a little insight that we can at least look at some of those assumptions. Right.
Right. Absolutely. And I'm sure there's a literature out there that can help narrow down.
So Immaculate Constellation, you've never heard this term before, and it doesn't give you the full picture there, but what other additional information did it give about what this was and how it operates?
Just describe the events and that analysis of the event of the Russians having foreknowledge to be there, and describing how the event occurred as I just went over.
Well, I know the Russians have secret bases themselves, and they have naval assets, naval bases right there as well. So, like some already know that they have their own reverse technology, stuff like that. Chinese as well, and UK and other countries. So that's not surprising. But what's weird is he said in the report, he said in that report that it didn't seem like it was their technology, but that's what's weird to me. So if it wasn't, then obviously it'd have to be alien intelligence. To, if it wasn't theirs, it wasn't their reverse technology or whatever. That's the only other possibility for me.
This is a page turner, so you're interested.
Yeah, you're curious now.
Absolutely.
What do you do next? What do you
go to the next page? And it was disappointing because we get into a couple slides of orbs, and I had already seen orbs at this point in an official setting.
So the next pages show orbs from different parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like the pattern is that under this Immaculate Constellation, they're gathering UAP images from all over the place.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the core of it, right? Is the idea that we collect data on these UAP, and someone needs to bring them, collate them together to provide intel to who needs it. And we're assuming, or not assuming, it's been pretty laid out, the Immaculate Constellation was a kind of place to bring everything together to provide those briefings to senior leadership. Is that correct?
I don't know about to provide briefings, but definitely to collect data from the military intelligence enterprise specifically, and the sensors associated with that. And yes, to collect that data, centralize it, and have it there for presumably both analysis and, operational needs.
the Shriver War Games document with the images? 12 pages, 15 pages, somewhere in there?
Yeah, I'd say 12 to 15, but probably more like 12.
And is that the only document you ever saw where the term Immaculate Constellation was used?
Until I wrote one, yeah.
And we'll get into that, but instead of like go through people will be so curious. So what comes on the 4th page? Talk us through the pages. Just go ahead.
On the next episode of Weaponized.
When I was in USDI, I read the transcripts of Sean Kirkpatrick briefing Senator Rubio, Senator Warren, and Senator Gillibrand on the results of his investigation in his congressionally tasked Arrow report. I read these transcripts once and immediately knew that
Veiled threat?
No, I knew that I was now something else. I had inside knowledge into the deception of our government by elements of our intelligence community. My blood ran cold at a specific point in that transcript.
Yeah, Rubio, it doesn't matter. You have both sides. You have, honestly, like I said, I do hate our government. A different reason, not just UFOs, but I know politicians personally, none of them. So if people knew what I knew, they wanted to totally destroy themselves and everything. And redone, rebuilt, everything. And it's like a mafia type thing going on with our government and the world's government and everything like that. But Rubio, I know that he knows a lot of stuff. He does, probably a lot. He knows a lot, and he's helped keeping this a secret as well. Maybe he's brainwashed. I don't know, but there's no reason why the Trump administration cannot. They have lied to us, the administration, as well as others. Doesn't matter if it's Democrat or Republican. Both sides do it. Both evil. Both sides are evil. No matter what country, politicians are evil. Well, there goes that. Most are. Only few aren't. This stuff. And they want to make money off this as well, and line each other's pockets. There's lots of different reasons I've been over and stuff. So, anyways, leave a comment. I don't like doing this stuff unless there's people talking or paid or whatever. So, anyways, I hope everyone has a good morning night wherever you are. Our job is to get the truth out there. I have been able beyond that much because of internet. It's just crap around here and other personal stuff. And so anyways, take care and